number one, believing that free online writing advice will help you write a bestseller. This is a big one, okay? This is something that I think all authors do at some point in their career. Unfortunately, a lot of authors assume that they can read the online writing advice and that is all they need. They'll think, oh, I can figure things out from the free writing blogs. There's tons of free writing advice online. And you know what? They're right. There is tons of free writing advice online, so much so that it's overwhelming. But tell me if this resonates with you. Let's say you want to improve some aspect of your story. It doesn't matter what it is. Maybe you want a better villain, better world building, character backstory, whatever the case may be, just something. And you start searching for terms for that thing you're trying to improve and start pulling up these free writing blogs. You find lots of them. And all of the titles of these articles sound great. So pretty soon you have tabs open for like 15 different blog posts, right? You start reading through those blog posts and maybe you even get some great nuggets of advice, but in the end, you still don't have an exact process to follow to improve your writing. And then you find more and more blogs, some even on different writing subjects than you originally searched for, and you're just kind of like, oh, you know what, that sounds great. I need to learn that too. And before long, you've gone down this hours-long rabbit hole. Your head is spinning. You finally give up and either close all the tabs and leave them for another day, which is code for you're never actually going to read them. But overall, you still don't really know any more about the subject you were looking for than when you started. Has that happened to anyone before? Can anyone resonate with that? Like I said, most of us do this at some point in our lives. And if you've done it before, don't worry, you're not alone. I've done it lots of times before. Okay, so I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to get to the crux of why using free online writing advice to try and become a best-selling author is such a big mistake. Okay. Okay, I'm getting some answers now. Like I said, there's a little bit of a lag in the chat. So yes, definitely. Autumn says, looking for villain archetypes right now, at least 5 tabs open. Yep, there you go. So you guys know what I mean. All right. So here's the question I want to ask you. Why do readers buy books? Can you give me a guess in the chat? Why do you think that people who buy fiction books buy them? No right or wrong answers, just put your guess in the chat. Living vicariously, okay, to escape, yes, definitely. And to feel, good, Michael, I like that. All right, so most people, most of you, whatever you're thinking or still typing in there, you're probably saying something that falls under one of the 3 E's: enlightenment, entertainment, or escapism. Now, there's also education, but that kind of goes hand in hand with enlightenment. So the 3 are the 4 E's, right? And all of those things are true. You're not wrong about any of them. But I want you to go a little bit more high level than that, because readers could theoretically get any of those things from the 3 E's from things other than books. They could get them from TV. They could get them from other fun experiences. So why do they choose fiction specifically to fill those needs? I am going to let you in on perhaps the most valuable thing you could ever understand about your reader. You ready? I want you to lean in, okay? Because most authors never think about this, and it will change the way that you approach your fiction. Here we go. Readers read fiction in order to feel big emotions in a safe space. So you were onto something, Michael, when you said to feel. I'm going to go ahead and say this again. Readers read fiction in order to feel big emotions in a safe space. The world we live in does not hold space for big emotions, does it? And here's another little soul truth for you. We as human beings actually yearn to feel these big emotions. Okay, I could give you story after story after story that proves this. Okay, I won't for the sake of time, but the thing is, we humans, we want to feel those emotions. And when we don't feel them, we start to almost go into I don't know, like a withdrawal from them or something, okay? But it's really hard for us to feel them in real life, either because they are our own emotions and they're painful, so like most human beings, we tend to avoid them, or because society just conditions us to suppress them. But when you read a story, you feel the emotions the characters feel, or you should if the story is well written, and you can process those emotions as you go throughout the story. But they aren't your emotions, and you're not dealing with them or the consequences of them. And so it's a little bit easier to deal with emotions that are someone else's or that belong to a fictional character, right? So fiction has this unique ability to help its readers process really big emotions. So I want you guys to understand this. Fiction actually helps people process emotions in general. And that helpfulness is actually twofold. Not only do they, meaning the reader, feel better in the moment because they feel the deep emotion as they read the story, and then they release it when the catharsis hits. That's the other thing, is we not only yearn to feel deep emotions, we yearn to release deep emotions from our body, right? And it's like, oh, what a relief. That felt so good. Okay, this is why people love fiction. This is why they love stories, because we make them feel something and then they release it and there's this relief and they want to go through that process again. But even more than that, someone who practices doing this with their emotions by reading a lot of books, say, can, by extension, eventually process and release their own personal emotions as well. We're basically helping readers to practice feeling and releasing their emotions. So fiction actually does help people process their own emotions. Did you know that? It's really kind of cool. And it's the kind of thing that most of us don't really think about, but there is a deeply psychological reason that people love fiction. And it doesn't really matter what genre they read or what tropes they like or what their favorite author is. They do this no matter what, so long as the story is emotional and is evoking emotions in them. So people who consume fiction of any kind are more emotionally and psychologically healthy than those who don't. Now, guys, this is true. This is science. They've actually done studies about this at big universities. They use their big brain staring equipment, right? They scan the brain, and the part of the brain that lights up when the person consumes fiction is the empathy center. So people who read fiction are more empathetic, they're more kind, they're more compassionate, they tend to be smarter, they tend to be more resourceful, right? But more than anything, they have more humanity because they have had practice feeling and releasing their emotions. And yes, just know that this is true of other types of fiction as well. It's true of TV shows, it's true of Netflix, what have you. But because books go deeper than TVs or plays or music, because we can actually, get under the hood and know what the character is actually feeling rather than just watching their outward actions, the emotional health is deeper for people who read books than who consume fiction in other mediums. So, isn't that super cool? We can actually change the world one reader at a time through our stories. Don't ever let anyone tell you that fiction writing is a selfish pursuit. It's not. People need your stories. They need it for their own psychological health. But why am I telling you this, right? What's this have to do with free online writing advice? Kind of feels like a tangent, I'm sure. Here it is. Free online writing advice is fine. It's great. As I said before, you may even get some really valuable nuggets, okay? And more power to you. But what you're going to find from free writing blogs online is just not going to go deep enough for you to get an overall well-rounded view of what a story should be and how to infuse that story with emotion. So I don't know about you, but when I want to understand a subject, and it doesn't matter what, it doesn't have to be about writing, just I'm curious about something, I want to know more about it, I don't know, a battle in the Civil War or something like that. If there's something that I want to really deeply understand, I tend to go out and buy or borrow 3 to 4 books and read them because I really want to feel like I have a handle on what it is. I want to be able to explain it to others with authority. Have you ever tried that and come across a book that's great, but just doesn't go deep enough? Has anyone ever had that experience? I know that I've done that with a couple of things where I wanted to learn about them and know about them. And so I would go, okay, well, this book has pretty good ratings on Amazon. I'll get this to try and learn more about it. And then I get it and it is really, really surface, right? And that's a little bit frustrating because I want it to go deeper. So, something where the book or whatever it is that you're reading, right? Maybe it tells you about broad, high level categories of whatever you're trying to learn about, but it doesn't dig deep into those categories, right? And the information it gives you is fine, but it's just not as deep and foundational as you wanted it to go so that you could have a true deep grasp of the material. Does that ever happen to you? Well, that's kind of what we're doing here and what we're talking about with online writing blogs. That's exactly what they do, okay? They just don't give you the true foundation you need to write bestsellers. They will show you bits and pieces, but not the overall picture. Let me put it another way. This is my bacon cheeseburger analogy. I'm about to make everyone salivate. Sorry, not sorry. If you don't like bacon cheeseburgers or you don't eat them or something, just think of what your favorite food is that would make you salivate if you were hungry. Okay, substitute that. But I went with bacon cheeseburger. Let's say that I decide I want a bacon cheeseburger, but I don't really want to fully commit to the experience of the bacon cheeseburger yet. And what I mean by that is maybe I'm not sure I'm hungry enough, or maybe I don't trust the food establishment who's cooking it for me, or I don't want to pay for it, or maybe I'm even doubting it's what I want. I'm hungry, but do I really want the cheeseburger? Do I want something else, right? So, I mean, I kind of want it, but I'm also not fully committed to it yet. Whatever the reason, you just don't want to fully commit to the experience. But you still want to have the experience of the bacon cheeseburger, right? So you decide you're going to try and manufacture the experience by eating the free morsels that others who have committed to it don't want and cast off, okay? So basically, you're going to be licking up the crumbs and small pieces that other people have left behind, okay? Because you don't want to completely commit to the bacon cheeseburger, go stand in line, buy yourself one, sit down and have the meal. So you're just trying to get an idea of what it is based on the crumbs on everyone else's plate. And for a bacon cheeseburger, that's pretty much going to be like small pieces of the hamburger bun, I would imagine. So that's what you do. And don't get me wrong, maybe those crumbs are delicious, right? Maybe they've touched the meat and gotten some cheese or bacon grease on them, so they're really good, right? That's a really good little piece of a hamburger bun. But even if you say that, it's still not the same thing as eating an actual bacon cheeseburger, right? Those crumbs might be super delicious, but they're not the same thing as biting into the actual cheeseburger and getting the entire overall experience at once. Like we're talking the bacon, the beef, the lettuce, the tomato, the onion, the mayo, the ketchup, the mustard, any condiments that you like to have on a bacon cheeseburger, right? If you're only getting morsels of the bun, you're not getting all of that. You're not getting the full experience, okay? And is it really logical to think that you can duplicate the experience of eating a real bacon cheeseburger just by picking up the crumbs others have left behind? No, it's really not very logical to think that's going to work for you. I mean, you can do it, but when you describe your experience, if somebody else came to you and says, "What does a bacon cheeseburger taste like?" you're not going to be able to describe it for them accurately because you only had a morsel that somebody left behind. You didn't have the whole thing. But this is what you're doing when you read online writing advice and think that it's going to help you write a bestseller. You're just picking up morsels that others are giving to you, and it's not indicative of the whole true body of knowledge that you need to write a true, emotional, cathartic, six-figure story. You're also going to find a lot of the same writing advice on these blogs because most of the people who write them don't truly understand the deeper elements of story structure, okay? They're just taking the morsels they do know of and writing about them without understanding the bigger structure, if you will, that they need to be plugged into. And for heaven's sake, half the blogs out there have just stolen the info from other blogs and reposted it, okay? And we're only going to get more of that as we move into the AI realm, okay? Because AI is pulling its information. If you say, ChatGPT, how do I write a great novel? It's pulling information from these public blogs. And it's going to say, well, according to 10,000 free writing blogs, this is what I've gleaned. This is how you write it. And I'm telling you, it's going to be very, very flat. Okay. That's why it's such a big mistake to think free online writing advice will help you write a bestseller if you can just read enough of the same blogs. Okay. It won't. It literally can't help you do that because those blogs don't have the capability of doing that. Now, understand this mistake is really about reaching your reader. That's why I talked about why readers read books. Readers read fiction to feel big emotions, which means you, the author, need to bring them that. A fiction author is a person who writes stories willy-nilly. If you write just anything, pop it up on Amazon, yes, you are a fiction author. A successful and renowned fiction author is a professional facilitator of emotion. Okay, the events in their story, every sentence, every thought their characters have, every action they take evokes emotion for the reader. And if you really want to be successful at writing fiction, you have to become a pro at that. And free online writing blogs simply cannot teach you how to do this. So, how is this killing yourself and how do we fix it? Well, just don't do it. Just don't read free online writing blogs, right? That's pretty big, yeah. But really, the answer here is that we need a better foundation for understanding story structure. The truth is, most authors don't really understand story structure and what it is. I mean, sure, we all know the basic story graph or the hero's journey, and we've read a craft book or two like Save the Cat or some other variation, right? And all of them are great. You guys, I've read like every craft book known to man, and I love them all, and they all have value, okay? Not bashing them, but each one is still just one part, one glimpse of true story structure. To understand the nature of true story structure, you have to delve into human psychology, okay? The two are not exactly synonymous because not all human psychology is story psychology, and story psychology is only one part of human psychology, but I will say that you cannot have one without the other, okay? We are going to delve much more into this on Wednesday in that presentation, so I'll be able to tell you a lot more about what story structure actually is, and all the stuff that the free online blogs have absolutely no inkling of then, all right?